I think in all honesty, when we listened to all the speakers this morning, right from the very first speaker, everybody has been talking about continuous learning. So I feel a little bit like everything I'm going to say has been said in one way or another by one of the speakers. But nonetheless, I'll share a few ideas. One of the things I thought about when I thought about this topic is that I thought maybe it should be called disruptive learning as opposed to continuous learning, probably in line with what we have experienced this year. There's been a lot of disruption. And let me start by sharing an experience, our experience at Strathmore University over the last 7 months to illustrate what I mean. We had been talking about the whole idea of online learning at Strathmore for many years. And each time we talked about it, we would think about it, would think why it's a good idea, but not everybody would buy into the idea of online learning. And there are always questions of what is the value add, what is our value proposition for online learning? How do we ensure quality? There was doubt, there was fear, there was uncertainty, there were questions. And also, we prided ourselves in our face-to-face engagement in all our programs. So not everybody could see the value of online learning. And so we never quite got to a point where we were going to implement online learning. And then the presidential directive came. This is in Kenya. And it was declared that from the 16th of March, 2020, all learning institutions, without exception, in the country would be closed. There would be no face-to-face learning whatsoever. No student, no teacher, no administrator on campus. And this was in response, obviously, to the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to keep it under control. And this one directive, it basically threw our mental models into disarray. What we had practiced so long for decades, our face-to-face learning, was no longer an option. Our beautiful campus was closed. We were not going to be teaching from there in coming months. And all the questions and all the doubts and all the fears and all the anxiety we had previously thought through multiplied many times over. As now, the question was no longer if we'll do online learning or when we will do online learning, but how we are going to do it now. And so lecturers had to learn very quickly, students had to adapt very quickly, and we had to ensure that everybody had access to the technology they needed and the resources to be able to do this and teach online and learn online. And in a record 6 days, we announced that all our programs were going online 100%. So in 6 days, our students were back in class, our lecturers were back in class. Lecturers made lots of blunders. As you can imagine, anything that can go wrong with online engagement was going wrong. But each time one failed, picked up themselves, dusted themselves off, learned from their mistake, and planned better and prepared for the next class. It's been exactly 7 months today since the university was closed, and what a learning experience and journey it has been. Mindsets have shifted, and we're looking and thinking differently about learning. So back to my theme about continuous learning, or what, as I said, I'm calling disruptive learning, because I'm thinking about disruptive learning as thinking of new ways of doing things differently. So it's doing new things differently, as opposed to simply adding on to what we already do or we've already learned. Incremental learning, which tends sometimes to be associated with continuous learning, is about being better, improvement. But disruptive is basically moving to a new space and doing things very, very differently. When I think about the women that are listening to me this afternoon, I think it would be fair to say that many of us are hyperachievers. Yes, we pride ourselves in outstanding performance. There's a sense of self-respect and validation when we do well. We are competitive. We are image and status conscious. We tend to be workaholics, some of us. We are goal-oriented. We tend to be perfectionists. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. But dare I say that being a hyperachiever can be a saboteur and undermine your professional development and learning. And this is why that when we seek to try and be the best and do the best, and we aim at 100%, sometimes we do not give room for the learning that might come with failure. Supposing you are comfortable with being 80% right or doing things 80%, we are okay with 80% achievement, and we allow 20% for experimentation, for doubt, for trying out all sorts of different ideas and projects, and maybe even failing, because it is in this 20% that new learnings happen. It's no wonder Sheryl Sandberg said that done is better than perfect. And some of you may also have heard of the cult of the imperfect. And this came from war, as many of our sayings in business tend to. And it says that give them the third best as they go to war, because the second best comes too late and the best never comes. Now, I have only talked about one saboteur, the hyperachiever. There are 9 others that we can discuss if you come to one of our executive programs at Strathmore. But let me just conclude by talking about this disruptive learning and what does it mean, and how can we ensure that we allow ourselves to engage or to embrace disruptive learning. One of the ideas is self-reflection. Reflect and ask yourself, what drives me? What are my assumptions? What are my beliefs? My beliefs about my team, my beliefs about my capability, about my organization, about my leaders, about my board, about my regulator. Okay. And what if I allowed a team member who is ordinary, who I consider ordinary, to take a lead in a project, knowing that they may not perform as well as I could? You know what? They might actually surprise you, and they might not fail, and they might even do better than you expected. Oftentimes, failure is not as fatal as we imagine, but a lot of learning happens. So self-reflection. The second point, fail better. Fail better. Design smart mistakes to succeed sooner. Avoid big failures or you are dead. Embrace small failures or you are dead. Seek ways to harness failure. Think about ways in which you can construct projects within your work environment in 3 simple steps. So you launch a project with the logic and the team and the resources you need. You build and refine your deliverables through testing and iteration. So you decide what you want to do, you test, you experiment, you go back, you learn, you improve. And then 3, you embed what you have learned into your own practice, into the habits of your team, and into the capabilities of your organization. And the third point is be at peace with the uncomfortable. Allow yourself to experience the uncomfortable. In fact, build a relationship with the uncomfortable. Proactively put yourself in diverse, novel, adverse situations. Manage the self in the face of fear and uncertainty so that you're able to see a bigger picture and a better picture across time and space, make wise decisions, and take appropriate action. Don't be comfortable. Don't make being comfortable your goal. Make learning and growth your goal. If you focus too much on comfort, you fail to build the muscles of adaptation, and then you will really become the failure that you so much dread. As I conclude, let me say that allow yourself to see 4 perspectives. 1, see deeper inside yourself, reflect, question, and adjust accordingly. Allow yourself to see further across time and space for trends, for key lessons, for future prospects. Allow yourself to see outwards to bigger systems, outwards, outside of your field, outside of your practice, to new spaces that you would never have thought that you would step into. Allow yourself to see diverse perspectives by looking through multiple lenses of other people around you. And I would suspect that the book club is a great way to allow us to see these 4 perspectives. Because it is in these 4 perspectives, and it is in these spaces that learning and growth and the development that we so much desire will happen. Thank you very much.